I'd like to do next is introduce our next keynote speaker, Bre Jacobs. Bre has also been at Medtronic and is there now as a Senior Program Manager of Strategy and New Opportunities. She's a Medtronic Fellow. She is the African Descent Network Memphis Hub Chair, and she's the Black Engineers at Medtronic Community Impact Co-Chair. In her day job at Medtronic, she develops strategies in research and technology innovation to adapt to rapid changes in healthcare industry trends, global market dynamics, and clinical and technological breakthroughs in their cardiac implantable technology development center within cardiac rhythm management. I need you guys to really shorten some of this stuff. So as part of Medtronic's cardiac implantables research and technology team, she drives and manages the new opportunities pipeline and the strategic decision processes which shape their investment portfolio to proactively adapt to rapid changes in healthcare industry trends, global market dynamics, and clinical and technological breakthroughs. She has 17 US patents and successfully leads award-winning cross-functional teams to new discoveries. Beyond her day-to-day work, she doesn't sound busy enough. She actively supports STEM outreach as a founder of Scientists and Stilettos, where she uses her scientific expertise and empathy to encourage and elevate girls and women to become leaders in the scientific community. A little something personal about Bre. On International Women's Day, she chose hashtag choose to challenge gender and racial inequality, to challenge the notion that bold, confident women are aggressive, to challenge the idea that women can't rock stilettos and lab coats. She chose to challenge that scientists and engineers don't look like her, or the belief that intuitive female emotions have no place in business. Here, Bre. She is a shining example of what can be achieved when we choose to challenge. So I personally look forward to hearing about diversity in STEM, elevating the freedom to innovate. And here is Bre.
All right, well, thank you for that introduction. Yes, I could have shortened it, but then I would have to explain all of the acronyms that we like to use in Medtronic. So either way, I was kind of doomed with that one. So for the sake of time, let me go ahead, share my screen, and jump right into it. I'm grateful to everybody who puts this event together, has these conversations, and invited me in to be a part of it. So I'm going to go right into it. We tend to sometimes, we're human, so we judge a book by the cover. We almost can't help it. It's that bias, but we can be aware of it and we can offer a better way of executing. And so I'm going to introduce myself as a journey and give you some numbers and metrics that matter. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the things I've been able to achieve through authenticity, and then talk a little bit about equity and innovation, and just a little bit about Medtronic in the middle there. So to introduce myself by the numbers, let's start with, let's start in the left-hand corner in the box. So I grew up in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and as a child, I was told, and my parents were told, that the condition I had a 9.3% mortality rate, and that research showed that the median age of death for somebody dealing with what I was dealing with was 31. And I'm proud to say I'm way past 31. I'm 45 now. So I looked that in the face and said, no, thank you. But this is information I'm sharing because imagine my parents who had just a few college courses at the time being told this, and then watching me as a child go through everything that comes with a serious illness at that time. So my parents were troopers, but they were parents, hardworking. We were, they remained married right until I lost my mom. And 61% of African-American people come from families with 61% in the United States are families with 2 married parents. So we were part of that 61%. Now, if we start talking about a little bit about my progression into STEM, STEM outreach and inclusion opportunities in science, technology, engineering, and math, I had only one outreach opportunity, and I was in the 11th grade. So we do mentoring here for us that are in our careers, but it also reminds us why it matters early on. And in my high school, the reason I had one early engagement is because there was not representation. Less than 9% of Black students in a total school of over 1,500 people. And dealing with my own interest in science and my parents dealing with understanding a medical diagnosis where they didn't see representation and I didn't see representation was very informative to where I am now and why I can never be too tired from that long list that you read from Ingrid. So now let's look at very quickly some numbers, some things that informs where we are today in society. Many of us know this. So diversity in STEM by ethnic groups, looking at bachelor's degrees. And so in science and engineering, we are still quite underrepresented. I believe this data is from, let's see, 2021. So it's recent data. I won't read through the list because, again, sake of time, let me make sure you're still seeing. Okay. Are you still? All right. Are we still seeing my screen okay? Thumbs up?
Yes.
Okay, good. So what this is saying is that for us that are on this call, it's a round of applause for all of the scientists, engineers, and technologists of any background. In particular, for women still, there's still a challenge. And so now I've introduced the numbers that have informed me to get here. So there's a lot of words on this slide. I really do believe I can fix you with a cup of tea. Tell me what's wrong, I'll figure that out. That's me being overconfident as a scientist. I take on that word of bold and confident and appreciate that more than bossy and aggressive, which I have had opportunities where they didn't quite call me aggressive, but they call me a bully. And that in a career is something you can't come back from. It was whispered that I was a bully. It wasn't even, brought to the front. That's another conversation. So as I describe myself, not by the labels other people give me, strategic scientist, a collaborative partner, a diverse inventor, and a passionate leader. So I moved in, I started in biologics, spinal therapy for Medtronic 8 years ago. And I started as a senior scientist in process development and moved into product development after having spent almost 21 years in pharmaceutical research and quality management systems. So the reason I call myself a strategic scientist is because I found a way to leverage that collaborative nature and build on my interest in having a wider view of the company so that I didn't get stuck down in a business unit focused in one area. I was able to kind of see myself into a greater pathway and then find myself into a strategy role that I'm really enjoying right now. Those collaborative partnerships are what helped me to get to be such a diverse inventor. And some of my patents, it's not the number of patents that I'm really wanting to share, is that is diverse. And so the message is you don't have to be what they say that you should be. You can be a subject matter expert in a variety of areas and then take that on to really make a difference where you are. And so Ingrid already mentioned some of the activities that I do. I won't list them, but they all form a cohesive view of what matters to seeing technology and innovation happen organically with diverse thought and equity as we know it should be. So again, back to how we kind of piece this out and look at some of the things we're dealing with. This is the employment status of scientists and engineers in the United States. And again, we see Black and African American is quite underrepresented as well as other ethnic groups. And so what that says to me and what that says hopefully to you is that we still have work to do, and it's these forums that are going to help us do that work. So now if you put the labels on that we assign to people that look a little different, that you don't get to see, you would say, that's an underrepresented group. That group maybe doesn't show up quite as well, or they need a lot of help. Those things don't hold true. And what you didn't get to see about me is the total picture of my experience. So we talked about by the numbers, we talked about by the achievements, which they seem really good, but what we didn't really talk about and what we missed when we put those labels on is talking about us by the experience. And I'm going to share my experience after I give a little bit about what Medtronic is doing. This information is publicly available. It's in our Inclusion and Diversity report. This is the 2021 report. So we're in 150 countries, 90,000 employees, and just over 11,000 of those employees are scientists and engineers. So when we're looking at diversity levels, Medtronic has really taken bold action to see numbers move in the direction that we know would create strong, diverse teams, diversity of thought, and therefore engineer products that are as diverse as the patients we serve. I commend Medtronic for the efforts that they're putting into it, and that's why I stay, and that's why I do so many other activities to help that next junior scientist or engineer see something that I didn't see when I first started at the company. So I'm not going to read this slide. Like I said, it's available, but you know, looking at manager and above, 4% for other people that look like me, 4% out of 90,000 employees. So what does that really mean about me? If you are looking at the lens through the bias that we're assigned, you're going to miss some things about me. You're going to miss my experiences. Here, we're also talking about percent growth in management roles, not just in Medtronic, but outside of Medtronic, and how we can address those. So if you're looking, there are different options that make a louder sound for different ethnic groups. So mentorship, what we're doing here today, is great for us, Black women, great for Hispanic women, Asian men. But what this is showing is that mentorship for Black men in industry is still not really moving the needle the way we want it to. Other things really are, and it's up to us in industry and in our companies and wherever we are working and serving to be inclusive, that seeing that elevation takes different steps, and we can make that effort. All right, so now I said, this is the full snapshot. This is what you don't get to see if you label me as a marginalized person, or you label me as bossy and aggressive, and you don't get to see that I am so passionate about my heels and I'm so passionate about my motorcycle. You can't put me in anybody's box that way. This picture under Scientists and Stilettos is a STEM party that I host through Scientists and Stilettos for girls. We just did chromatography in the kitchen. This was COVID days, so we had to do that. That's my family. You know, they drive me, they drive me crazy, but they drive me, they keep me grounded, and I need them. And so that's my son, my husband, and my daughter, Ella. I conquered a big fear just recently, whitewater rafting. That's me in the boat in the very back with a boat full of strangers, right? You don't get a sense of that if you look at me by the numbers. This picture at the far right corner just happened at the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgery just in March, where we had an opportunity to bring diverse orthopedic surgeons that Medtronic typically has not really engaged in the unit I'm in, and still don't have the representation in healthcare that we want. So I'm really passionate about healthcare equity, and we'll continue doing that. So these are my quotes. These are things that I really find important. My mission in life is not merely to survive, but to thrive. And I won't read the rest because it's here. And some humor. They say scientists aren't very funny, so I don't know how I've done today, if any of this has been engaging. But I just want to leave you with, you know, look at a holistic picture of a person and expect people to look at you with a holistic picture. And we'll keep moving and making strides in science and technology. And with that, I believe I'm done. I saw one question. Oh, I just want to add, I did have one last slide. So what I did for you today was introduce myself by the numbers, talking about the metrics that matter and impact, influence, or inspire us, and how we measure that satisfaction. And then by the labels, our partnerships. Are we meeting the need of the people that we're engaging? And then by the experiences that matter. And I showed you some of the experiences of my life. And so for that, after that, now I am done. And thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Bre.